have explored and verified ET Stargate wormhole technology. So that's what Will, who is coming to us from Washington, D.C., and who is founder and director of UFO DC, and who covers a whole panoply. We were just having a discussion prior to the program.
Well, I believed that so when people ask me, like, what are we supposed to do? And I just say, well, I'm not God. I don't really have all the answers, but I'll tell you a few things. First of all, how could anyone be a truther, study all the conspiracies of the criminal government, and then look at the supernatural aspect and not believe there's a God? The best argument I've ever had, which I quickly fixed it, was that argument in Egypt. We have the story of the flood, the story of Jesus, basically, all these similar stories thousands of years before the Messiah showed up.
On the face on Mars, and quite an expert. So perhaps at a future show, you can come back and take us a walk through life on Mars, or through monuments on Mars.
There's a colleague of mine that I would like to recommend also for that. His name's Keith Morgan. Keith Morgan is probably one of the foremost experts.
Before Noah showed up. And how you counter it is you say, okay, well, the Bible mentions a devil. There's a devil that's supernaturally powerful, that has had control over many of probably universe. No one knows how old he is. He's supernatural. So of course you have to take that into consideration. Now there's a channel, I'm going to leave the link below. He shows you many places in the Bible that are suddenly popping up. Sodom and Gomorrah, Noah's Ark on a mountain in Arabia. You have the tomb that Christ was buried in, and possibly the cross area, the skull mountain, the skull cliff that was like a skull. And get this, his blood supposedly bled into the cave 20 feet down into a secret cavern where they had the Ark of the Covenant. They said it was opened up and the blood spilled onto the sacrifice seat, the mercy seat, where they used to sacrifice the animal's blood. So in other words, Christ is on the cross. God knew he would be there, what would happen, so he had the Ark, hundreds of years, if not 1,000 years, put in the special cave where he knew Christ would be sacrificed. The blood dripped 20 feet down into this cave, onto the Ark and the mercy seat. I'll leave the link below to the channel. I'll put the link to this video up this week sometime. Oh. So we're battling many satanic agendas. You got Pizzagate, which is really the creepiest one of all, for me anyways, where John Podesta, Tony Podesta, the Clintons, a lot of powerful parties in Washington appear to be involved in child sex trafficking, including Mr. Obama, our ex-president, who's probably the worst president, by the way. You get the Illuminati cards that talk about most of the stuff. There's a card that looks like Obama, a card that looks like Trump, where he actually says enough is enough. And then you got the asteroid card, which is coming up soon, and the gray alien scare, which is coming up real soon too. So you gotta stay vigilant, my friend. Keep your heart focused on Jesus Christ and his sacrifices, on all 10 commandments, and think of it this way too. Soon there'll be earthquakes, destruction, billions will die. If we're even fortunate to go into year 3, year 4, that's after 4 billion people die. Say we're fortunate to go there. We have to spread the word of Christ to the very end, my friend. That's what it's all about. You have doctors putting implants, like we say every day. Dentists and doctors putting implants in their patients. The reptilian hybrids, they run the major hospitals. They run the big police departments in the big major cities. They've been running the top of the government for about 70, 60 years now. They got a hold of the doctors and the police around 30 years ago. A solid hold of it. Not all police are hybrids, and most police don't even know. But the police that are always the ones in charge. That's how they do it. Now, with the power of Christ, this demonic energy power that's coming, if you can prevail to the end, the time of the Antichrist, then God will give you a special protection, special powers to spread the word. You have a special gift of prophecy, and you're going to avoid all the plagues will pass you over. God's going to, at some point, start releasing all these penalties to the leaders of the world. This is toward the end, after Antichrist established, after the marks given out. Toward the end, when God starts to release these plagues, he'll be following them soon afterwards. You'll be protected from the plagues for sure. Then he comes back. He raises up the living and the dead. The first resurrection. The first resurrection, you want to be part of it because you go to heaven. The second resurrection is the penalty in hell, and we don't want to be part of that. Then the devil, this Antichrist, the false prophet, all the fallen angels are thrown into the lake of fire, and all those that kept the faith and obeyed God's commandments are forgiven. And many saints will go on with God, hopefully. I think we'll be there too. And we go on forever and ever and ever and ever in a paradise utopia. God goes back to his original plan, I believe. The Garden of Eden, man and wife. This is way down the road. Soulmates, eternal love with God and your partner. And animals, as you know, the background. It's going to be a different world, folks. We can't even imagine what it's like to live in a world without sin. A world with no sin, where we go on forever and ever without this fallen state, this fallen body. We get new bodies, we become light, love, and happiness. And we go on with God forever, obeying all of his commandments. God bless you all out there. Get your heart right with God before it's too late.